Frantic to save his family, one man follows his all-determinous orders, uninformed that his most prominent foe knows the dull mysteries behind his ideal life. One morning, Neil offers his better half Abby and their girl Sophie farewell period to heading off to work. Unbeknownst to him, a man named Tom is watching him as he heads to his place of business. In the lift, Neil's associate Jerry blusters about the man obtaining a record he attempted to get in 2 years. To assuage him, the pro-representative proposes to allow Jerry to introduce the prince to get the majority of the credit. Staggered, Jerry remarks that his associate is awesome. With that, Neil later asks their president Kurt to allow Jerry to give the show, yet entirely their supervisor demands that he do it all things considered, indicating that he has large designs for him. He then at that point requests that Neil talk secretly. The big shot gives us a significant shift focus over to a secretary Judy, prior to following their chief. As the two talk, Judy answers Abby's call, who checks in the event that Neil is as yet arranging his end of the week trip with their president. Judy affirms this while watching the two men examine. After Kurt leaves, Jerry looks at Neil to snidely comment him for getting there once more, supervisor great sight. The man encourages him to up his game, which Jerry doesn't trifle with. That night, Neil closes his day by getting heartfelt with his better half. During this, Abby requests that her better half stay for the end of the week. Yet he answers that his chief's greeting to his domain is fundamental to getting an advancement. With that, the spouse yields. The following morning, Neil gets ready for his outing while Abby plans to go through the day with a company. Their new sitter, Helen, shows up. However, Abby tells her better half the organization sends somebody very old. Neil believes it is superior to a fight youngster, so his better half doesn't contend further. Before long, the couple leave for their excursions. During the drive, Abby thinks back on how far their relationship has gone since they left Denver. Out of nowhere, Tom shows up from the secondary lounge and waves a weapon, sending the two into a frenzy. The equipment settles on a telephone discussion and pushes it to Abby. Incredibly, Sophie is on the other line. Neil requests to converse with his little girl, yet is met with a firearm on his head while Tom's orders him to continue to drive. Notwithstanding the fear, Abby coos at Sophie, advising her to follow what the sitter says just as Tom yanks the telephone away. The man orders him to stop close to a bank and requests the specific sum in their ledger. He then at that point pushes a portfolio to Abby and orders her to get the cash alone. Neil content that pulling out that much requires his mark, so the criminal reminded them what is question period to letting them go. Strength, the couple hurried to the bank. However, Abby gets diverted when a companion perceives her. At the point when she thinks back, he finds her significant other attempting to call the police. Frightened, she yanks the telephone away and reminds him to do what the man says for their little girl. With that, they go to the tailor, yet since they are pulling out a huge aggregate, she inquires for their ID. Neil gets eager and becomes suddenly angry, so his better half advises him to quiet down, trace that he will blow their undertaking. She proposes he returns to the vehicle, while she handles the withdrawal. Neil hesitantly concurs and gets back to the vehicle, yet the ruffian insults him with an image that Sophie drew. He forces similarly as a cop thumps on the window, inquiring as to whether there is an issue. Tom assuming he ought to shout out. Neil eventually guarantees that they are fine similarly as Abby returns. They before long drive off, and during this, Tom requests every one of their assets and accumulates them in the folder case. Subsequently, he consumes and tosses everything into the stream. Amazing the couple, weapon close by, he calms them down and makes Neil park by a workway. The more abnormal then advises Neil to call his chief and say he will be late to make him not suspect where the man is. A short time later, the outfitted man orders them to head toward the website while Abby calls her companion to drop their arrangements. He teaches them to go to an extravagant cafe that Neil regularly visits with their clients. There, the detainer Atlas gives them their guidelines to save their girl. For 24 hours, they need to do what he asks, so he can demonstrate that guardians will do anything for their kids. In view of that, he arranges a costly wine and steak, then advises the two to get the cash to pay for it in 50 minutes or less. They too rush out, thinking hard on the most proficient method to track down the cash since Tom consumed everything. Since the man knew the specific sum they had in the bank, Abby contemplates whether he is an opponent for Neil's office. The man demands he doesn't have the foggiest idea about the person, so he simply centers around getting the cash. While asking doesn't help, Abby fosters an arrangement and hauls Neil to a second-hand store. There she attempts to sell her waistband. The appraiser offers less cash than they need, so Neil adds his watch. They rush back to the cafe just to find Tom missing. Luckily, the man rises out of the washroom and orders the spouse to pay for the feast while he converses with the spouse. He requests that Abby convey a letter. However, Neil catches wind of and won't allow his better half to do without him. In any case, the ruffian claims he needs to get to realize the spouse better, while Abby demands that she will be fined all alone. With no discussion, Neil lets her leave. As she leaves, Tom's child, Marge, comes closer from across the road. This astoniates the detainer, so he reminds the stressed spouse not to say anything. In any case, as the dad and child make up for lost time, Neil gets a thought and attempts to offer Matt a ride. Notwithstanding, Tom detects that he is late for something to deter Matt from going alone with them. With this, the men head back to the vehicle with Tom driving this time. During the drive, Neil attempts to pressure his foe by indicating what his child would think about having a criminal as a dad. Tom overlooks this and simply drives up to the highest level of a parking area. Serenely, he focuses to the structure before them, which is the workplace of Neil's business contender. He then uncovers reports he accumulated to demonstrate that Neil hacked them, which permitted him to let the $1 million publicity sent off in their organization. In the nick of time, they see Abby stroll into the workplace across the road. So that is what Tom adds. She is conveying one more duplicate of the proof there. The record contains how Neil paid off his method for getting his objective record, and when it is uncovered, it will tank their organization's standing. Horrified, the spouse inquires as to why he needs to obliterate them. Tom denies needing to obliterate him, and to demonstrate this, he gives him his telephone to call Abby. Neil exits the vehicle and calls her, telling her to not send the letter. Abby demands conveying it, stress that not doing so will jeopardize Sophie. In any case, her significant other uncovers that Tom settled on him discussion, so Abby leaves yet passes by the chief. She delights, and at last hands the records to the man. Seeing this, a seething Neil drives down the parking area with Tom nonchalantly smoking at his side. They show up before the stratter to sit tight for Abby, and during this, Tom calls the sitter to beware of Sophie, however denies Neil the opportunity to converse with her. All things being equal, he focuses to Abby across the road, and tenderly advises the spouse to ease off his significant other. As the two meet, Tom advises them to sit tight while he goes for a task. Presently alone with his better half, Neil defies her for not confiding in him period. She answers that she did it for her girl, affirming that Tom might have been feigning about letting her stop period. Neil instigates her for being faithful to the point that she eagerly impledes his vacation. Pissed, the lady gets that she is being paying attention to what he needs for the seem like forever. So on the off chance that is sufficiently not, he ought to simply return to Wemder. Presently alone with his better half, Neil defies her for not confiding in him period. She answered that she did it for her girl, affirming that Tom might have been feigning about letting her stop period. Neil instigates her for being faithful to the point that she eagerly implemented his vocations. Pissed, the lady gets that she is being paying attention to what he needs for the what seems like forever. So on the off chance that is sufficiently not, he ought to simply return to Denver. These instances are better half, so he takes her to the vehicle suit, yet in the long run feels remorseful. What's more, apologies. As she is going to back to the vehicle, Abby detects Tommy's telephone, so they rapidly take it to see the sitter's number. Tom shows up similarly as Neil wraps up composing the number, throws a bundle to the spouse, requesting that they convey it by train and return in 60 minutes. Since Neil has data, he denies, much to his better half's astonishment. In reprisal, Tom quickly overwhelms Neil and stifles until Abby besides him to quiet, promising that they will do his order. With that, they head to the train station. However, Neil calls the number he got and finds it is for a lodging. He demands going there as opposed to convening the bundle, so the two get a taxi and depart the station. During the ride, Neil opens the bundle, wanting to track down signs about their conversation. Nonetheless, the crate is vacant, affirming to him that Tom is just playing with them. After showing up at the lodging, Abby rapidly converses with the secretary, then tells her significant other that the staff saw individuals who seemed to be Helen and Sophie, shorting out the room number in view of Tom's call period. They take an expert key cut from a housekeeper and go to recover their little girl. At the lobby, notwithstanding, they just track down Tom inside. The criminal turns Neil's presumptions for believing that he can pull off anything that throws Abby introducing herself as an idol spouse. Made distraught, Abby assaults the man until her significant other pulls her back. Nonetheless, Tom insults her further by requesting her to wear a red dress. Neil rises up to safeguard his significant other. However, he reminds the spouse that Sophie's destiny is a summon. With no discussion, Abby strips down, while Tom intriguingly helps her, all while deriding her significant other. Fulfilled, He then at that point tells Neil he is in Easy Street presently and orders him to be someplace before 8 o'clock. At the point when Neil asks where, Tom throws bourbon at his face and leaves with Abby. Back in the vehicle, Tom sees Abby's displeasure, so he feels for how she simply cares about her life back. At the point when Abby affirms this, he permits her to leave. In the interim, Neil is sourcing the space for hints on where to go until he sees the cloak tower across the street. He shouts out that this is what for sure signifies. He makes a frantic scramble to the structure, almost losing himself in trouble as he rides the lift up. At the point when he makes the way for the housetop, in any case he tumbles to his knees. Since there is nothing there, Tom considers him and lets him know it is past the point of no return. The captor orders the spouse to investigate the age, realizing the man's fears levels. With no discussion, he watches out and sees the man holding his significant other by the neck in a void parking area across the road. Tom then orders the spouse to take care of business and stand up. With insecure knees, Neil remains on the edge, while Abby asks the detainer to stop. Tom then pushes the constant lady back to the vehicle and lets Neil know that he will take her paying little mind to what he does. The spouse inquires as to why he is doing this, so Tom lets him know that the explanation is up there with him. The demolished man scrambles to find what he means and finds a book with the feature entry, who breaks a butterfly up a while. Neil asks what is mean, and Tom answers that he is devastating an issue with more exertion than needed. Presently, he'd taken matters to Neil, so he removes the call and drives with Abby. The frantic spouse shouts and hurries to a police headquarters. He clears up the issue for an investigator. Yet the official lets him know that his significant other came before. What's more, cautioned him about Neil making up a story to prevent her from leaving him. Stunned, the spouse hates the official, demanding that he is not making it up. Nonetheless, the man smells the bourbon on him and advises him to return home. Totally broken, he leaves the station and planks down under the weighty downpour to flounder despondently. Minutes after the fact, he detects his vehicle showing up and rushes to it. Abby emerges from the vehicle to rejoin with her significant other. She makes sense of that Tom made her lie to the police since she figured he would make her spouse leap off the structure. Tom then at that point drives to them, affirming that he is demonstrate that he gives orders, so they should follow him definitively from here on out. Crushed, Neil gestures, so the detainer orders them to enter the vehicle. He drives a messed up couple to Carl's lobby and asks Neil to come clean to his chief. Neil rapidly concurs and strolls alone. Part of the way through, be that as it may, Tom pursues him. He asks the messed up man how far he would go to safeguard his loved ones. Neil vows to take the necessary step, so Tom gives him the sacked weapon and orders him to kill the individuals inside the lobby. The spouse holds back nothing to his retainer in disobedience, yet Tom simply leaves, cautioning him that he has 10 minutes to save Sophie's life. Not ready to risk challenging him once more, Neil snacks inside the lobby. Rather than Carl in any case, Judy welcomes him with a kiss, uncovering that his outing with Carl was clearly false all things considered. She attempts to make him agreeable, glad to have some confidential time after months at last of uncovered steps. Interestingly, Neil obsesses about what to do until he spots Mart and Tom's photo on the rack by the chimney. Days, he asks who this man is, and Judy says it is her better half who is on a hunting trip. He promptly tells her that Tom has Sophie and most likely is familiar with their undertaking, which may be in his intention. With the lady confounded, he adds that her significant other will kill Sophie except if he kills her. He then takes the weapon out, and Judy makes a run for it, yet he effectively gets her. All things coincides. He can't track down it in himself to shoot. All of a sudden, Tom enters and requests Neil to kill his better half. Frantic man obsesses, so Tom takes his telephone. Taking steps to end his girl's life, all things considered. Driven to the edge, Neil remorsefully pulls the trigger, just to see that as it is vacant. Exasperated, he implodes. While Tom calls attention to his crime spouse, how much the man she is going behind his back, which truly thinks offend about her. He then tosses Neil on the floor, taunting him about his ideal work and family while figuring he can pull off his mysterious relationship. At long last, he takes his resentment out at him, beating his significant other's sweetheart period to getting a paperweight to crash his face. Be that as it may, Judy stops him, and Tom yells as though returning to his details. With the man quitting down, he at long last uncovers that Sophie is been home this whole time. With that, the dad races to the vehicle and drives, deceiving Abby that Tom needed Carl dead because of a business-related issue. Notwithstanding, Abby saw Judy inside, so her better half rapidly concords the untruth. He tells her that Tom was Judy's better half, yet she was taking part in an extramarital entanglement with Carl and mixed up him as the guilty party. This appears to pursue Abby, so they keep driving back home. Before long, Neil goes up to Sophie's room and thinks that she is sleeping. As so is, the man shouts to his significant other, telling her that Sophie is fine. All at once, he hears the front entryway bang as Ellen has quite recently left. The man surges down, accepting to stand up to Tom's accessory, just to hear his better half say she knows, acknowledging what she implies. Neil sorrowfully goes to her as Abby challenges him to lie once more. All things considered, the man guarantees that they can sort out this. At the point when this doesn't work, he reminds her to be content. They got their little girl back. Nonetheless, Abby at last uncovers reality. Sophie never went out, and truth be told, had a decent day with the best sitter Abby would find. The call she had with Sophie before was phony since she set everything up from the very starting. This made her significant other inquiries, why she put him through everything. So she hollers at him for causing her to feel that he wasn't sufficient for a really long time. He reasons that Judy made next to no difference to him. The lady contends that their activities implies something for her and Tom. Hard Neil inquiries as to whether it made it in consuming all their cash and destroying his vacation. Yet his spouse uncovers that she just provided Tom with a chunk of change to consume. The rest was predominantly scrap paper. To the extent that, demolishing his profession, the records she gave to their rival were clean. All of this was on the grounds that Abby shorted out his falsehoods, every much like the way in which she moved in Denver. He lets Neil know that she was in such a lot of torment while watching her significant other pull off everything. With that, she is finished with him. He actually has his little girl, profession and wealth. However, Abby realizes she has set gigantic exertion to pound his spirit. In a couple of hours, she caused him feel the deserting, agony and the treachery she felt the whole time she was with him. In this manner finishing her vengeance and procuring her independence for him.